I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself, or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Hi, everybody. This is Apologies Accepted,
the podcast.
And I'm not Theo.
And I'm not Juliet. And this is our Christmas episode.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yay.
Theo, what's shaking bacon?
What is shaken bacon? Let me get to my list of bacon bits. Yes. Yeah, and I'm
the famous notes
doing
app.
it now so often, which grammatically is a snag, but whatever, that sometimes I'll be like on my phone typing something and James will say, "Don't you dare put that down in your podcast." Like, all right. So one of the things, which is big news for us, is that we've had a slight jump in the charts, and we've moved from the Hot 1000s into the triple digits. We're podcast number 836 on the comedy charts.
Oh, my God.
How the fuck?
Thank you, everybody. We love you so much.
We love you so much. Who are you people? I mean, we're delighted as hell, but wow.
In 20 years, we'll make it up to
the best podcast you never heard of. But anyway, so, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's cool. Great. And then I went into Pandora, which gives us a breakdown. And sorry, I'm not going to be boring everybody to tears with like the stats of the podcast. What you are. But I'll tell you who's not interested is a person who lives in a town. What's that state above California?
Oregon?
I guess so. I don't know.
Oregon and Washington, yeah.
Pardon me for clearing my throat. But so this town is called Wilhelmina, and it is in the state directly above California. And which purports itself to be Oregon. And somebody in Wilhelmina gave us a thumbs down. I saw we had a new follower, and I was like, yippee, love followers. Let's dive in and see what's happening. And there was a new thumbs up, and I was like, cool, okay, great.
Wow, that's great.
So the Pandora wants you to feel good about your show when you log in.
Yeah.
So you only see the count of thumbs up.
Oh,
you've got to
and there were 20
click
thumbs down.
into the thumbs to see any thumbs down. So imagine my shock and horror when I was like, a thumb and a new follower, that's amazing. And then a new thumbs down, what? And so our thumbs up and our thumbs down both come from Wilhelmina, Oregon. And I'm just going to say, Wilhelmina, I know what you're doing.
Get your shit together.
Well, we had that conversation where we were like, oh, thumbs down, make us laugh. But we love thumbs up. So I think somebody was just taking us at our word.
Oh, maybe.
Or the story that I made up is there's a very angry, rebellious teenage daughter. She heard the podcast with her father, and he said, what shit is this? And he gave it a thumbs down. She snuck outside at midnight because,
Right.
And she logged in and gave us a thumbs up.
Thank you, teenage girl.
Yes.
We love you the most.
We love you the most, right. So that's the story I invent for all of our thumbs down are always in conservative, small, rural areas. And they always make up that it's a parent who disapproves.
Gave us the thumbs down.
Yeah,
and the rebellious teenage girl named Margarita.
Sometimes it's a son. It depends on the name of the town.
It could be a son. Could be a son.
Wilhelmina.
Could be non-binary.
Only
could be
be
them.
a female, daughter. Let's see. Okay, and then the other thing that I have is I heard this, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Have you heard of the Prekend?
The what?
The Prekend.
No.
So you've heard of the weekend.
I've heard of the Preakness. And I've heard of the weekend.
That's a race?
Yeah. Horse race.
Okay. Because you like horses. And so this one, I only know that race because my father-in-law liked betting on horses.
I see.
See, that has nothing to do with my own interests.
Gotcha.
So the Prekend is Thursday, It's the day before Friday. And I guess maybe Friday can kind of count as the pre-kend too. And I was
we used to call Thursday the start of the weekend in college. So I guess it's the pre-kend now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, where did I hear it? I don't know. Was it a podcast? Maybe. It wasn't in the grocery store. People weren't talking about, what are you doing this pre-kend? It wasn't that. Oh, how I wish it had been. So I don't know if I like it or not.
I hate it.
Okay, good. I hate it too.
Okay, good.
I have no will of my own.
It's the worst. The pre-kend.
So,
that's dumb.
That's it, other than Christmas shopping.
Thumbs down to that.
Boo.
Yeah.
All right. And so what about you? What's shaking, bacon?
I got some amazing Christmas presents last week. They are the best Christmas presents I've gotten this whole year. And
I was like, you're not supposed to get Christmas presents before Christmas. Okay.
One of them is On Tyranny, which looks like a real side splitter. And I can't wait to read it when I'm depressed one day. So I'm sure it'll cheer me right up. And it's a graphic novel, which is super cool. And I also got something I had no idea existed, which is Euripides the Trojan Women, also a graphic novel. Fascinating. And Octavia Butler's Kindred, which Brent grabbed immediately because he's very interested in Octavia Butler. He has not read any of her stuff, and he's been meaning to read her stuff for like 30 years and has never gotten around to it. So it's a perfect gift for Theo, for my husband Brent. And then I got a Peanuts anthology, which is the perfect gift for me because I am the biggest Peanuts fan on the planet. And thank you, Theo, for the wonderful, wonderful Christmas gift.
Oh, you're way so more than welcome.
You've warmed our household this Christmas.
It's what I do everywhere I go. Joy and cheer, spreading it like peanut butter.
Gross. So that's really the only thing that's happened to me all week, but that makes up for all the other bullshit I didn't do. So I'm freaking out about Omicron. I have already thinking about I made plans for next October, which is like a year away, to go to Oregon, and I'll visit our rebellious teenager while I'm up there.
In Wilhelmina. Never going to forget you.
To go to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, Omicron! But hopefully by then it'll all settle down.
Oh, it's going to be so over by next October. I mean, I've been saying that for months now,
years now.
But Omicron I'm sort of mispronouncing it, but whatever. I mean, we're all going to have that variant in the next few weeks. I was at a grocery store.
True.
It's totally true. It spreads like 500 times more quickly than COVID-1. And people are just over it. Like they're done.
Yeah.
And word on the street is it's not as severe as other versions of the coronavirus.
Well, the problem though is the long COVID, which I'm nervous about. I don't want to get long COVID. I mean, I got enough problems. I
don't want to get COVID at all. That's why I fully vaccinated. That's why I wear an N95 mask, everywhere I go. But anymore, I'm the only person wearing a mask. And this includes, and this is not a commercial, because you'll know why in a second, this includes Trader Joe's, where I swear, because I looked yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I ran in to get some emergency wine because it was Friday night. And hey, there were three people.
Wine.
Yeah. It's right at the front door in this red thing, and you take a little hammer and you smash the glass, and then you run to the register, right?
Hilarious.
So like one staff member, everybody, all the other staff members, no masks. Customers, laughable if you were wearing a mask, right?
Wow.
And I was just like, it's over. I mean, that's that. So we'll see what happens, but.
Well, I was reading on TikTok that like everybody in New York has it now. So I'm sure TikTok is the most reliable news source that I could possibly ever find. But they're all saying on TikTok that everyone in New York is saying everyone they know has COVID now. So I guess that's just a harbinger of things to come. Yep.
So the good news is we'll survive it. Long COVID, you're right. Who knows? Don't try and catch it, everybody. Get vaccinated, wear masks. Hand washing seems to have gone away, but fine. You can't really catch it as easily from objects. So gone are the days of throwing all my boxes from Amazon in the garage and waiting 3 days and then walking in there with like a respirator and sanitary wipes to...
Did you really do that?
I did for the first first couple of weeks of COVID.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, like groceries
Where no
even.
one knew anything. Yeah. Wow.
Groceries sat in the garage.
Damn.
Yeah, like I was serious. I was not going to catch it. And, hey, here we are.
Here we are indeed. So on that note,
let's talk about something cheery, like Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah, I hope you guys stay safe over Christmas, by the way. That's all. Okay, so today's podcast, an Edmonton, Canada bakery, Dutch Delicious, apologized earlier this month. I don't like that name, Dutch Delicious. That's weird.
Well,
I don't know what you think about it. Dutch Delicious.
I don't hate it. It sort of says what it is. It's a Dutch bakery. And
it's allegedly delicious.
Well, actually, they would call themselves Dutch Bakery if they were saying what it is. So you're right. Dutch Delicious doesn't really. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Whatever. It's just weird.
I didn't mind the name.
They apologized, Dutch Delicious did, earlier this month for, I read like 2 or 3 stories about what happened, and I could not figure out for the life of me what the fuck happened. But I think what they apologized for is the visit of Zwarte Piet to the bakery.
Yeah. It was a little confusing because it wasn't a huge, what was I going to say?
Huge.
A huge, a huge news story, right? Outside of Edmonton, outside of like the one newspaper that reported it. Right. So it was kind of a bunch of nothing.
And we're going to make a whole podcast out of it.
Well, yeah, because it's Christmas. This gets us to yippee.
So who is Zwarte Piet? It's talking about Christmas. The National Geographic, Betty Little, wrote an article saying that to celebrate December 5th, the Dutch St. Nicholas holiday, Netherlanders gather for parades in which St. Nicholas, who's called in Dutch Sinterklaas, arrives by boat, supposedly from Spain, to hand out candy and gifts. Sinterklaas is an older white man who's portrayed as a hero with a helper or helpers named Zwarte Piet or Black Pete, who are clownish blackface characters wearing large gold earrings and exaggerated, brightly painted red lips.
Yep. I mean, there's no mistaking what's going on when you see
I don't think so.
Black Pete.
I don't think so, but the Dutch people may, as you will find out later in this podcast, disagree. The story of Zwarte Piet goes back at least to the mid-19th century to a children's book called St. Nicholas and His Servant. In the book, Zwarte Piet is Sinterklaas' dark-skinned helper, referred to only as the servant. In the illustrations in the book, he wears colorful clothing like that of a page or a Moor. And others, however, connect Zwarte Piet to traditional narratives from the Middle Ages in which St. Nicholas was paired with a dark-skinned helper who represented a tamed devil or evil character like Krampus. I didn't go into Krampus because I figure people either know Krampus or they don't know Krampus, and it's not my job to educate people. Just kidding.
I'm going to say same thing. I just sort of lumped Krampus in with this whole, like, the dark side of Christmas.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so Black Pete is also, no puns intended, the dark side of Christmas.
Right.
And so it's kind of like, there's so much with Christmas.
It's just, we could make several podcasts if we go into the whole history of Christmas.
Let's start now.
Hours and hours.
So yeah, I didn't do Krampus either, but he's a Black Pete variant.
Yeah. So since the mid-19th century when this children's book was written, and over the course of the 20th century, the story arose that Zwarte Piet was a former slave who had been freed by Sinterklaas and had subsequently become his lifelong companion, I think in a straight way, though. Slavery was abolished in the Netherlands in 1863. While previous to that, the Dutch weren't legally allowed to be slave owners, they were shareholders in the business of slavery in other countries for more than 200 years. Because of this, says Emily Rabateau, they didn't have to confront the miserable lives of the enslaved unfolding on plantations far away, and for the most part, they still don't. Meanwhile, the Zwarte Piet continue to be the highlight of annual parades. In the weeks leading up to Sinterklaas's name day, cities and towns host parades featuring hundreds of white people dressed as Pete in outlandish costumes, afro wigs, and red lipstick with blackface and Afro-Caribbean accents. You know, I think it's the Afro-Caribbean accents that really get me. Like, how can you say that, why are you putting on an accent if this is a Dutch tradition?
Right, yeah. If it's not racist, why are you imitating the slaves in the Bahamas that the Netherlands owned when they were sugar plantation. So
I thought it was the Netherlands Antilles. Was I wrong? Maybe it was the Bahamas. I don't know.
oh well, you know what? My knowledge of the world is it's round, and so
Round and blue.
could be sure, right? But I have a friend who's from Curacao, and he is Dutch, but his ancestry is African and European, and so his ancestors were enslaved laborers in Curacao, I want to say, but maybe it was. It doesn't
Sure,
matter about
maybe.
my friend and what town I think he's from because I don't know anything about the globe. Why am I talking?
So the Zwarte Piet costumes include blackface and African Caribbean accents. Stores buy Zwarte Piet costumes, merchandise, and baked goods. Adults visit children's homes and schools dressed as Sinterklaas and Piet. Pete brings gifts and treats for good children, but naughty kids are warned they'll be whipped and taken away to Spain in one of Zwarte Piet's burlap sacks.
It's Spain again. I mean, I get the Moorish connection, right?
Yeah.
Because the Moors were the other, and that was the frightening thing for Christians.
Right.
And they were present in Spain. So I do get this. Why is Santa Claus coming from Spain?
I don't know.
But okay.
I didn't get that either. That's another thing I failed to research for this podcast.
Well, it's just so wrong. There was no need to recognize it.
Absolutely. So a growing number of Netherlanders are protesting the use of Zwarte Piet now. Since about the early 2010s, at least, the character has been increasingly controversial and decreasingly prevalent at holiday celebrations in the years that have followed. As of 2021, there's a revised version called Roodweg Piet, who's in English Sooty Piet, that's Sooty, has become more common than the traditional variant at public events. Sooty Piet has the natural skin of the person playing the character with soot marks created by dark makeup on their faces instead of total blackface. Because one version of the story around the character suggests that Zwarte Piet's blackness is due to a permanent layer of soot that he acquired through his trips down the chimney to visit children's homes.
Wouldn't explain the Caribbean accents or the I'm not going to say freakishly large, but the frighteningly red lips.
That's exactly right. And this gentleman named Wil Eichelboom, a human rights lawyer in Amsterdam who represents many in the anti-Black Pete movement, says that he grew up with a Sooty Piet myth, quote, who was black when he came through the chimney and was a harmless helper. It was embarrassingly late when I realized that if you came through the chimney, you don't have thick red lips or black curly hair. This is probably a stereotype of a black man, and this had to be pointed out to me by protesters.
Yeah, because you don't think of the things from your childhood as problematic.
Exactly.
I mean, sure, sometimes you do, but, no, it's just a normal thing you grew up with.
Exactly.
I mean, let's start with somebody's coming down the chimney.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of problems with that.
Oh, no, it's just you believe anything and it's just normal. And so
I always had problems with that, I guess.
we didn't have a chimney, so it was a
Why
whole
are they
thing.
not dirty if they come down the chimney? Why are they not dirty? How do they fit down the chimney? I know it's all magic, but
Yeah.
still, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, no, it's magic.
If it's magic, why is the chimney even involved?
Because, listen,
Okay. Well, he has to land on the roof, and I guess the easiest way for him to get down would be via the chimney. But he could just, what?
from the era in which the Santa Claus myth sort of like coalesces, where it all sort of comes together, people had chimneys.
Okay.
That's where your heat came from. I mean, everybody, I don't know, but probably a lot.
I suspect so. All right, so in the meantime, we have white supremacists who are protesting what they see as a loss of the Zwarte Piet tradition. Their arguments are that the character has been misinterpreted and others have overreacted, and they simply want to continue with their traditions in peace. So a lot like with the American Confederate flag, the public debate surrounding the figure can be described as polarized, with some protesters considering the figure to be an insult to their ancestry and supporters considering the character to be an inseparable part of their cultural heritage. Journalists in the Netherlands have received death threats for writing about Zwarte Piet, and anti-blackface activists have been targeted with violent attacks.
Wow. I didn't even make the correlation with the Confederate flag or the Confederacy in general in the States, right?
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
very much there. Southerners will tell you, American Southerners of some families will tell you that they're very proud to be Southern. The Confederacy was a wonderful time and that it was unfortunate that there were enslaved laborers. But look at the dresses. Oh, my God, the ribbons.
It was a wonderful time for some white people. I guess the rich white people, maybe it was a wonderful time. I can't imagine, but I suppose so.
I mean,
a lot of other people exist, though.
Do they?
I'm one. Not a rich white person. The Dutch Review claims, and I don't know how true this is, but they say that racism has not been largely discussed in the Netherlands until recently, and that it's a bit of a taboo topic there.
Could be.
So it doesn't fit in with, it doesn't fit in with the Dutch cultural identity, so the word racism creates discomfort and defensiveness. There's a big disconnect in the discussion when it comes to behavior that many do not recognize as discriminatory because it's based on tradition, while others experience that behavior as hurtful or insulting.
I mean, I have two friends, one's sort of not a friend anymore because of a thing that happened, not to me, but something he did to a friend of mine. So let's just say, because that was awkward, that I know two people who are Dutch, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is a person of color. Sorry.
Yeah.
My dog is going mental.
Your dog is losing it.
Yeah. And you know what it is?
On.
Well,
what?
Black Pete is walking up to the front door.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Going to stop me from saying what I'm going to say. But so what I will say is that from this person that I knew, right?
Yeah.
Quite well.
Yeah.
He had grown up as a person of color in a largely white country, but with access to some privilege. So he went to private schools, blah, blah, blah. Cool. And the Dutch are famous for their tolerance.
Yes.
But tolerance does not always equal kindness or acceptance, right? And that's sort of that fine line of he was tolerated by some people
I see.
because of his race. So he was tolerated in certain rooms at certain times, but didn't always feel welcomed, right? And then, of course, there were other times when he felt perfectly welcome and fine. So, racism in the Netherlands, probably as complicated as World War II was for the German grandchildren of Nazis.
What?
Right. Listen, what I said makes all the sense in the world. But no, so like there's no need to have discussions around racism because the Dutch are tolerant. This is my interpretation, right?
Okay.
And in that same way, now people are starting to say, yeah, we're tolerant, but we're not accepting. And there is a streak of racism, and maybe we should talk about it. In that same way that grandchildren of German grandchildren of Nazis were like, yeah, I love my opa. Is that the word?
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah. Yeah, embarrassed, and we need to talk about what happened during the war, right? So it's just that at a point where a society is ready to start talking about things they'd rather that they haven't.
And I think you're right. I think the Dutch people are still at the point where they're getting ready to talk about it because as of last year, the majority of the Dutch people did not view Zwarte Piet as discriminatory. There was a question in a poll whether people agreed with the following statement. Even though it may not be intended that way, I understand that Zwarte Piet comes across as discriminatory to people of color. And the majority disagreed with that statement. So only 40% agreed, and the remaining 8% didn't have an opinion. Well, how can you not have an opinion? Anyway, so the number of the people understanding the racism of Zwarte Piet has been growing since at least the 2010s. And Emily Rabateau says, the Dutch will learn their history and its ties to slavery, and I hope they will learn it soon. When they confront that hidden core, Dutch society must also realize that there is no tradition so golden that one child's joy should come at the cost of another's shame.
I think that was beautifully said.
Isn't it?
Yeah, very, very well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, hey, you're right. And I'm afraid to say anything more because it's like, geez, Theo, are you being hypocritical somehow, some way, somewhere? Probably there's...
I think we're all hypocritical when it comes to racism in some ways.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all racist. We're all hypocritical. Nobody's perfect, especially us white people.
The end. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
But I think you've done some research on things around Christmas.
I have.
Tell us about it.
Oh, get ready, because it's going to get so Christmassy up in here.
Love it.
So... I had never heard of, and I can't say his first name because I know a Yiddish word that's quite bad. And that's the word I'm going to accidentally say. So I'm just going to call him Black Pete, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like, what? How could I have gone like my whole entire life? I didn't know about Black Pete until I was like probably in my 30s, which would have maybe been the time that I met my friend who did that bad thing.
I'm not sure I knew about it before yesterday, frankly.
Well, I didn't know anything in detail, but I sort of maybe vaguely knew as an adult, right? That, Santa Claus has like this creature that comes with him and and beats children with a stick or something, right?
Yeah.
And when I heard it, I was like, that's crazy. That's not Christmas. And so immediately discounted it. Cool, and got on with my life because, dumbest thing I've ever heard. But to think that somewhere in Amsterdam, certainly, but throughout the Netherlands, there are children who are like, oh, I hope I see Black Pete. Like, it's part of their, it's part of their childhood. So got it.
Part of their Christmas,
I was like, what the fuck else, right? And so...
You know what else isn't fair?
No. Oh, no, fair? Christmas. I'm going to drag you.
They get 2 Christmases. They get the 5th of December and they get the 25th and 26th of December. That's really 3 Christmases.
There's the 12 days of Christmas for...
We don't get 12 days of Christmas.
No,
That's
we
just
don't.
bullshit.
Whatever.
Maybe if you have an advent calendar, you get 12 days of Christmas. But I don't have an advent calendar this year. I should have gotten one. Anyway, go back to your story.
Okay, cool. Back to me. Back to me,
you, Theo.
And my confusion over Black Pete. So, cool. All right. All cultures have a weird thing, right? That's totally normal for them and a big deal for them, important to them, and weird to everybody else, right? And so we talked about the Nativity a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, we did.
In Catalonia, they have something called the cajer, which translates into the pooper. And I'm not making this up. If you have not heard of this, get ready. So every nativity scene in Catalonia and surrounding regions will have a person hidden away somewhere behind the manger who is squatting and defecating. Now, I am not a big fan of scatological humor, so I will not be making any jokes about this because I think it's shitty. I'm gonna die. I did it. No, but it's true. I don't like that kind of humor. It's gross.
We'd never know it.
I know, right? But I mean, honestly, so it doesn't matter how I feel about that. What matters is that in Spain, nativity scenes sometimes are as large as the town of Bethlehem, right? So it's not just the manger. There'll be a whole recreation of Bethlehem. And the fun thing to do...
A nativity scene as large as the town of Bethlehem?
Well, it's like it goes on for several blocks.
It includes the town of Bethlehem. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So it includes... Thank you. That's what I said. If you rewind this tape, you'll hear that's exactly what I said.
Okay.
So it's as big as the town of Bethlehem, right? No, it's just like, it's life-size. And they'll have a life-size guy squatting over...
Okay.
And so in 2005, Barcelona decided they weren't going to feature this edition
Shooting
anymore.
Statues?
Yep.
Okay.
And the region of Catalonia had hysterics because you are discounting our culture. And we've always said we're not part of Spain. And now you're proving it, Barcelona, by removing an important figure from our heritage from your nativity town, right?
Wow.
And so in 2006, he was back.
Wow.
Yeah. So how weird is that? That's just a normal part. It's an exciting part of the nativity scene. Children look for it, finding it is good luck.
I wonder how graphic it gets.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can Google
true to
it.
life. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't want one in my nativity.
No, I can't. Why? I don't know why. And I don't care why, right? I started to get into like some folklore about fertility and come on. I don't know.
Yeah.
So nobody knows. A little bit like Black Pete, like, you can point to figures associated with St. Nicholas. There's some story about how he gained control of a demon, right?
Yeah.
And then there's that other story about how he rescued a slave, right? So whatever. Who knows? But, okay, so that's Catalonia. I'm not Catalonian, but I am American. And so it was like, well, what do we have that might be weird? And I had a long conversation with James, who's British, last night, and was like, what's weird about American Christmas? And he couldn't really come up with anything because we have packaged Christmas and have distributed it to the world, right?
Yeah.
So everything felt kind of normal for him.
Yeah.
But some things, like Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. So although that's not a major part of Christmas, Rudolph is not a surprise to find on a tree or, as a cookie or whatever. It's part of Christmas. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer started off in 1939 as a Montgomery Ward marketing campaign. So every year, Montgomery Ward would give out... 1939 would give out coloring books to kids and adults, I guess. And so one copywriter, a guy named Robert L. May, was given the assignment to write a long poem. He created a poem about a fictional reindeer with a shiny red nose, drawing upon his own recollections of being bullied as a child. May was assigned. I know, right? It's like, what's your nose?
That's sad.
What's up? Oh, it gets sadder.
Oh no.
May was assigned the project in the midst of a particularly tragic year. His wife, Evelyn, died of cancer in July, and the widower found himself deep in debt while trying to raise his young daughter. Despite those struggles, May was able to complete his assignment, turning in a poem with a meter similar to A Night Before Christmas, right? So they gave away 2.4 million books in 1939 and then 3.6 million books in 1946. It was super popular. Now, this is worth commenting on. The company president, some guy named Sewell Avery, signed over the poem's rights to May in 1946 so the copywriter could be compensated for his work. I mean, I don't know how much money he gave away, but lots and lots and lots. Okay, so about 10 years after Rudolph was written.
Do we know this poem?
Oh, I looked it up. It's really long.
Okay.
It's really, it's like...
But it's not like The Night Before Christmas. That's something that people recite at Christmas or anything.
Yeah, it has the same beat and meter as It's A Nightmare Before Christmas. No, it's The Night Before Christmas. But it's super long.
Okay.
And I mean, it's cute, but it was really long. So 10 years after Rudolph appeared, May's brother-in-law, a guy named Johnny Marks, wrote a song called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And he asked Gene Autry to sing it. Now, Robert, well, it's his name, the brother-in-law, Johnny Marks, was a famous songwriter. He wrote a bunch of songs that were very popular. His Christmas songs include Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, which he wrote for Brenda Lee.
Christmas tree. Yeah.
Yeah. But not that way. It's better. A Holly Jolly Christmas, Silver and Gold, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, and then sadly, Run, Rudolph, Run. But I mean, whatever. So anyway, Gene Autry didn't want to do the song because he thought it was stupid. And Autry's wife was like, oh, no, it's such a sweet song and you should do it. So he recorded it, but he released it as a B-side on the record. So he put out a single and it was supposed to be the crappy other song
that you don't listen to.
That you don't listen to, right? And instead it became a massive hit for him. It's the most popular thing that he's ever done.
Wow.
And yeah, there you go. So this one means nothing, but have you ever heard of Olive the Other Reindeer?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a marketing campaign done by Neiman Marcus, a cartoon voiced by Drew Barrymore.
That was Neiman Marcus?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I bought one because I was like, that came out around the time where I was like, I need really nice Christmas decorations. And so I bought Neiman Marcus's little Olive the Other Reindeer.
Olive the Other Reindeer, yeah.
She goes on the tree every year. Yeah, nobody's ever heard of her, and who cares?
That was like the 90s or something, wasn't it?
The 1890s, yeah.
Olive the Other Reindeer?
No, it was. Yeah, it was the 1990s. So it just feels so far away now. You know.
You're confusing me. I'm old. Don't confuse me.
I'm going to confuse you so much even more when I tell you that then there's Frosty the Snowman, who really just didn't become a thing. Like, yeah, Frosty's not as big as Rudolph.
Oh, my sister loved Frosty the Snowman. It's like such a big part of my Christmas. It's like, it's just we had to watch that stupid Frosty the Snowman show every freaking year.
Well, yeah, I've got my shows that I have to watch every year.
Snowman. Die Hard.
But, that's sweet. Well, I'm glad that Frosty impacted one person's life positively because I don't care about him.
I didn't realize it was so uncommon. That's funny. I thought it was like a big part of Christmas for everyone.
No, I've never seen a Frosty the Snowman cookie or cake. I mean, I was going to say the commercial.
You've seen snowman cookies.
Yeah, but that's not Frosty.
They're all Frosty.
No. Okay.
All right.
I'll let you have that one. Sure. Why not? How can I argue with you? Okay, but then some of the other things that we take as really standard that were present when our parents were born, like Christmas trees, Santa, and snow. So let's start with...
You're not going to tell me snow is inauthentic, are you?
Snow is a Christmas add-on that gets wrapped, that blankets the holiday. Thank you, I did that.
Yes.
Thanks to Charles Dickens. And I will tell you about that when we get to that part of my notes.
Okay.
So basically, Christmas has this very complicated history. There's a religious part of it, which we covered in our nativity aspect, and I'm not going to drag everybody back through first century Christianity, much as I would love to. So it was one of those holidays that was celebrated regionally in different ways. And kind of common was, what's the word they used? It wasn't rambunctious. It was just kind of wild. People dressed up in costumes and they ran around and would have little riots. You would go to other people's homes and you would sing a carol at the front door. And then if they didn't open the door and give you...
Like trick or treat.
Like just like Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Then you could break into their house and take what you wanted, right?
Wow.
So it was off the chain, I think is how the kids say it these days. And when the Puritans came into power in England and America, right, not loving Christmas. People used to dress in the opposite gender's clothing, right?
Yeah.
And again, it was riotous is the word I was struggling for, right?
I see.
So the Puritans tried to stamp Christmas out, and celebrations of it weren't cool. So much so that by the early 1800s up through the mid 1800s, the London Times, which is called the Times, on December 25th, no mention of Christmas in their paper at all.
Wow.
For years, it was just a lesser holiday. The bigger holiday was Boxing Day, which is something they have in the UK that we don't have in the States, and that James still struggles to understand why we don't have Boxing Day, which is literally just the day off as far as I get from my British family. It's not like they do things with boxes, right?
I thought that was a day you were supposed to give your helper people gifts.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay.
There's some debate about where the term Boxing Day comes from, and there's some speculation historically that it comes from when the churches would open up the poor box and distribute the funds to the poor, right? Which was on December the 26th, the day after Christmas. And I mean, maybe, sure, yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah, don't know.
And also, who cares? Because we don't celebrate it, and as far as I can tell, they don't really celebrate it in Britain either. It's just an excuse to have a day off. But cool. So anyway, let's see. So So the Puritans had really put a damper on Christmas celebrations, but regionally, it was still celebrated in rural areas. And Charles Dickens grew up in one of those areas. So when let me get to my notes so I can make sure that my dates are right. Yes, I can do this. So Charles Dickens in 1843 went to his newspaper editors. He was a writer for newspapers, and his stories appeared in serial editions in the newspapers, right? He went to his editors and he said, hey, I've got this idea for this Christmas story that I want to write. And his editor said, nobody's interested in Christmas, so no. We're not going to pay you to write a Christmas story, thanks.
Okay.
So he wrote it on his own, took him 6 weeks, and he printed it and distributed it on his own. He made a ton of money. He sold 6,000 copies in something like 2 days. Ridiculous for the times, right? And again, Christmas had disappeared from the UK thanks to the Puritans. Dickens grew up in the countryside where the holiday was a local celebration, and he thought that some of the more pleasant attributes would catch on with a London audience, particularly given the recent marriage of Queen Victoria to Prince Albert. The British nation basically had always looked to the monarchy as like, what does it mean to be British, right? For a sense of British identity. And when Victoria and Albert got married, she turned her attention to her family and raising a family. And so the family became very important in Britain. Dickens incorporated a lot of the homey, nice, sweet aspects of the Christmas that he grew up with. And he dropped the wild parties, the dressing up weirdly, pretending to be animals. All of that was kind of gone.
That's kind of fun.
Well, I mean, we have Halloween for that, right?
Okay,
of course, they
that's true.
sort of didn't have that in the 1800s, but whatever. So it really turns out that Christmas is an invention of the 19th century, and all of these different components get packaged together. But Charles Dickens is the person who first caused people to ask, what is the meaning of Christmas? And then give an answer, right? The answer is...
So the whole thing around Christ's birth really wasn't celebrated until relatively recently.
Well, I mean, like that...
I mean, it's a made-up date anyway, so, yeah, I totally understand.
A lot of speculation I could throw out there, right?
Okay, okay.
But it's kind of like, I'm not going to touch it.
All right.
So, the things that Dickens emphasized in A Christmas Carol, which then become the meaning of Christmas, are forgiveness, compassion, the idea that the holiday is best celebrated with family, and that there are opportunities at second chances in life that allow us to become a better person through the love of a neighbor. So that's really sweet, right? Dickens grew up in an area where it snowed in December, and so although it didn't typically snow in London in December, he wrote of a white Christmas in his story of A Christmas Carol, right? He also he borrowed aspects of Father Christmas that bothered other people. No. And so, cool. So that's sort of like where what's the meaning of Christmas comes from. And then another thing that we take as totally normal that wasn't and isn't is the Christmas tree. So the Christmas tree came to England by way of Germany, thanks to Prince Albert, and it quickly became a popular British tradition.
Lovely.
Yeah, which is sweet, and moved its way over to America. So in Germany, the Christmas tree was smaller and put on the center of a table. And that was put in the center of a room. Sometimes the tree was hung upside down from the roof.
Interesting.
And things were put in the tree. I don't know why they're hanging the tree upside down. Whatever, right? But in the States, given our access to forest, our trees were huge inside of our homes, and obviously still something that is a part of Christmas today. The bigger the Christmas tree, the bigger the Christmas. Thomas Edison made small light bulbs on a string for his office, And that idea was stolen by one of his assistants, and that assistant painted the bulbs and put them on his Christmas tree. And that's where we get Christmas tree lights from. Thank you, assistant to Thomas Alva Edison, who stole his idea.
Did not know that.
I don't know if that assistant sold the bulbs or whatever, but all right, fine, right? Christmas in the States is largely a German and Dutch import, rather like the way Halloween is an Irish import that dates from, again, the mid to late 1800s. So I don't know when my great-grandparents were born, but certainly my great-great-grandparents probably didn't have a Christmas tree.
Wow.
Yeah, let's see. And then, of course, there is Santa Claus, who is an amalgamation of Sinterklaas out of the Netherlands, who comes with Black Pete, or in a straight way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I forgot where I was going with that. Let's see. Sinterklaas. Oh, yeah. King Wenceslaus somehow, or like a Bishop Wenceslaus. And then St. Nicholas. And the thing I love about St. Nicholas, the saint in Turkey, is there's a story about how he tried to rescue, he rescued 3 women from prostitution by going to their home, because they were 3 sisters who were prostitutes, going to their home and leaving a gold coin on the windowsill every night for 3 nights in a row. And on the 3rd night, the father came out to thank Bishop Claus, or Bishop Nicholas. No, it's St. Nicholas.
Okay, St. Nicholas.
Yeah, who I think was a bishop in Turkey. But anyway, so the father comes out and is like, oh, thank you, St. Nicholas. You've rescued my daughters from prostitution, and now I can pay their dowries, and they can be married. And hooray, right? It's a sort of like people want to make that connection to gift giving. And then other people want to take the 3 kings and sort of say that's why we give gifts. And it's just sort of like the winter holidays kind of, there was always, I should say always, but there were holidays that people exchanged gifts, right? Most famously, the Elizabethans did it on New Year's Day as opposed to Christmas. But that gift-giving idea just sort of shifted closer to Christmas. Yeah, and so Santa Claus, as we have him today, is an invention of Coca-Cola. Thank you. A delicious drink. A delicious frosty drink. Hi, I did that. In 1931, a guy named Hatton Sundblom, who worked for Coca-Cola, came up with an illustration of Santa Claus, which was a combination of Sinterklaas, St. Nicholas, and the English Father Christmas. He also used himself as sort of a model, and Coke uses the illustration to this day. It's very fair to say, when criticism is leveled at Christmas, that it is a holiday created by retailers that, yeah, it's kind of, a holiday created by retailers.
Capitalism.
Yeah, but I love it.
I love it too. I love getting presents and giving presents.
I like the trees.
Capitalism. I love the trees. I love the lights. I love the snow, even though it doesn't snow here. It used to snow in Pennsylvania sometimes at Christmas.
Charles Dickens would have it snowing all the time in Pennsylvania at Christmas.
All the time.
Yeah. So I don't know how true this is, right? But there's like this goofiness between Catholicism and Protestantism.
Yeah.
Right? I can't even say it. I'm such a good Catholic. And the idea of a tree or candles in the tree comes from Martin Luther, who was walking through the woods one night after he had dabbed a knife into a church door with his, what was it called? Complaint?
What? Oh, God, I don't know. If you'd asked me 20 minutes ago, I could have told you.
Okay. So you're in such a fog now with all the Christmas information I've been throwing at you.
I'm thinking about holidays, yes.
But so he saw the moon through the branches of a pine tree and brought the pine tree home to teach his children, or his child, I forgot if he had, whatever. So to teach his son, probably. The true meaning of Christmas is Christ is the eternal light that guides us towards salvation. And so seeing the moon through this tree reminded me of Jesus. Let's have a tree in our house with lights on it.
Perfect.
Yes, great. And sure, is that true? I mean, whatever.
Yeah, who cares?
Martin Luther might care. Might have cared. Some Germans might care. We might get some emails saying that's not how where it comes from at all, Theo. Right? But
I'd love to get some email. Please send us email, people. Don't even care what you say, but we'll read it carefully.
Twice. So yeah, that's Christmas. I don't know
awesome.
what. We have the apology to rate. So
We do.
Let's go ahead and do that. That was the whole doorway to allow us to indulge ourselves with Christmas.
The bakery in Edmonton called Dutch Delicious, which we're changing the name to Dutch Bakery, that was visited by Zwarte Piet, stated on Facebook, "We recently held our annual Sinterklaas celebration on December 3rd. We do see reason to celebrate, remembering Nicholas and Peter coming from different cultures to show kindness to the Dutch so long ago. This celebration has not been banned in the Netherlands and is still being enjoyed today. We do realize that we have offended people with our Zwarte Piet character. So to those we have offended, it was done very unintentionally, and we are sorry for causing hurt. That is why we have decided to change our festivities in the coming years to incorporate a chimney Pete who will have soot streaks on his face and lose the curly hair and red lips. A big thank you to all of you who have showed your support. This community is such a blessing to us. This includes our wonderful team at the bakery that have carried my why in business all the way. And so we keep breaking bread together."
I mean, it's...
We're sorry we offended people. That's a big red flag.
They're still in business, right?
Sorry you feel bad. Yeah, there was no harm done to them as far as I could tell.
Right.
People probably... Being in Canada, people probably didn't understand the Dutch traditions, so they probably were more offended in Canada by the Black Pete than they would have been if this had been in the Netherlands.
If you're a Dutch person living in Canada, you're going to clue into the fact that racism is a thing.
You really should. I agree.
There you go.
I'm with you 100%. So I actually rate this apology a 0.
Well, I was going to give it a 1, and I will, so that can be different from you. It's not so much that it's poorly written or even that it was insincere, but it was insincere. I mean, people are mad at us. We're sorry. The caricature of a Moorish person is a part of our history, and we just wanted to share tradition. The joy of having a racist caricature jump out at you from behind a stack of cakes.
And we're sorry we hurt some people's feelings.
And here's the thing.
But those people don't matter. Yeah.
And I'm fixing this issue right now for the Netherlands, so everybody, you're welcome, right? Black Pete can be purple. Call him Purple Pete. That's more fun.
Well,
he's only 150 years old.
They did have some pictures online of people in different color faces, but I don't think that satisfied the
racist in the country.
That did not satisfy the racists in the country, for sure.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it had to be black. It's traditional.
Right, yeah. It's so stupid. That's the thing that drives me crazy when people are like, Santa Claus is, white. It's like, Santa Claus is a magical person.
Yeah.
He can be anything to anybody.
Anything he wants to be.
Yes. That's why he's Santa Claus. And, whatever. Drives me crazy.
So that apology, they did change the thing they were going to do. They were going to have a chimney Pete with streaks on his face and no curly hair and red lips, which is the minimum they probably could do to change. So again, rated a 0. End of story. So we get a 0.5 overall because Theo graciously gave it 1 point.
I did, yeah. I did because at least they made the effort, and then they did they fix the problem? Well, they sort of did by saying we're not going to present this racist caricature anymore. Yeah. So all right, cool. And I get that you're a Dutch bakery, and that's a uniquely Dutch character. So cool. But are there another Dutch characters? They're like
probably Sinterklaas is
tooth fairy.
Identifiable enough to just use Sinterklaas instead of... Yeah.
God, you're smart.
So do you have Who's Sorry Now or Apologies Expected?
I would like to go second because I still need to think. I'm torn between two. So,
Okay.
go.
So I have an apology as expected. It's short but sweet. Southwest Airlines CEO Gary Kelly tested positive for COVID-19 after appearing at a U.S. Senate hearing on Wednesday, in which he questioned the health benefits of masks on airplanes and did not wear a mask during the hearing. So he appeared at the Senate committee hearing with the CEOs of United Airlines and American Airlines, as well as a senior Delta Airlines executive and the head of a flight attendants union. Again, he did not wear a mask and questioned the health benefits of masks on airplanes, and he now has COVID-19. He is going to step down next year as chief executive, unrelatedly, but I expect an apology from him within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that will be coming, right?
Good.
And should, because
Should. What an idiot.
I mean, again, get vaccinated, wear a mask, and if you don't want to. I mean, that's your right, but...
And of course, the article I read about it was all about, he has mild COVID. He's going to be just fine. He's recovering at home. But come on, people, stop spreading COVID around. And, if you have children, it's not safe for your children or your elderly folks or immunocompromised people. Just get your shit together and wear a mask.
That is right. And we are preaching to the choir, so...
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, totally. Oh, please.
No one else is listening to us anymore.
It is those people.
We've scared everyone away.
They know we're not the show for them.
Absolutely. We are not
except for,
show for them.
Our hate listeners, perhaps. And who cares? So let's see. I don't have an apologies expected. I will have a who's sorry now, and I will keep it Christmas-y.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, because you know what? Why not? So who's sorry now is my mother. And here's the apology that I expect. And it's not because I didn't get every gift I ever wanted, right? Because I wasn't that kind of kid, and I wasn't from that kind of family. It was like, lucky to be getting Christmas at all. Did you wash the floor?
Right.
Right. So, yes. And the answer was always yes. Yes, the floor was washed. So, when I was very young, probably 5 years old, I looked under my mother's bed, and I found presents.
Oh.
Yeah. And I real quick made some dots connected. And what made some dots connected? I connected some dots, but I was 5 and I didn't know that expression then. So
yes.
But it occurred to me that I know this isn't a thing, but if anybody's listening with children, now would be a wonderful time to stop listening with children.
Turn it off.
So my belief in Santa Claus was shattered. And that night, or whatever, like soon after, right, we went to bed because Santa was coming and you have to go to sleep. And of course you're excited as a kid because, oh my God, I'm going to get my presents. And so you're up until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And
I still am.
Oh, well, I'm not, but I do wake up like at 4 a.m. And I go outside. I don't go outside. I go outside of the bedroom.
You go look at the tree.
I go look at the tree for hours.
I know. For hours
it's
with a cup
wonderful.
of coffee. It's perfect.
So my sister and I stayed up and stared out of our bedroom window to see if we could see Rudolph in the sky, because that was a thing that we did when we were little kids.
Yeah.
And could we see Santa? And then our mother came into the room and woke us up and said, "You guys, you have to be really quiet because there's somebody in the house." And we were like, "What?" And then from our bedroom, there were stairs that went down into the kitchen. And against the wall, because the stairs lined the wall or whatever, right? We could see a shadow of Santa Claus going down the stairs.
Wow.
I remember it vividly to this day, right?
Wow.
And we could not believe it and jumped out of bed and ran down the stairs into the living room to find our neighbor, Joseph DePilka, asleep on the couch. As a 5-year-old, this was totally normal, right?
Okay.
This did not strike me as odd at all that there was our next door neighbor was sleeping on the couch, right?
Okay.
Don't know why. My mother, she didn't. Like, what am I saying? Like, men didn't spend the night at our house.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, I was wondering if that's why it was normal.
Oh, no. I meant like in that way that kids. My mother was such a whore.
Your kid, you don't know anything.
Normal. No.
I didn't think that, but okay.
But anything that happened in our house was perfect and fine and normal and how it should be, right? Yeah. So the fact that Mr. DePilka had come over and gotten so sleepy that he'd fallen asleep on the couch made total sense, right?
Okay.
So our nice Jewish neighbor had dressed up like Santa Claus to go down the stairs and cast a shadow on the wall to help restore my belief in Santa Claus, because my mother was devastated, right? And so why does she owe me an apology? I will tell you. She owes me an apology because she should have hidden those presents better, and I could have believed in Santa until I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So even though there was a shadow, right, that seed of doubt had been planted. And so, I mean, I think within the next year, my mother was like, yeah, you're right, but don't tell your sister. Who then believed in Santa until she was 37.
Oh my God. I think when I was 7 or so, my mother looked at me one day in the car.
Oh, no.
On my way home from school or something, she was driving. She looked at me and she said, "You don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, do you?" And I was like, "No." I guess not.
And let me guess, it was like April.
No, I think it was Christmas time. Which makes it all the worse. Like, why would you do it around Christmas time? I don't think I believed in Santa Claus at that point anyway, but I mean, I was probably at that phase where you're like, there's no Santa Claus, but I'm going to pretend just because it's fun. Uh-huh. So, but she destroyed that for me. So thanks, Mom.
Well, I am from a family where people will tell you that Santa Claus is real. It's the spirit of Christmas. Right?
Right. Like, yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. And he's going to sleep on your couch. It's totally normal.
Why was he asleep? How? I don't understand the logistics of the story.
He couldn't get out of the house fast enough because we were running down the stairs. So he has like a 5 and a 3-year-old chasing him. And, you know, it wasn't a big house. So,
I see.
You know,
I see.
His choice was.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Now,
what a nice man.
I've wondered, how did they throw a shadow? But I guess a flashlight or whatever. And
maybe, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So it was very sweet of my mother to go to all that trouble. It was very, very sweet of Mr. DePilka to participate. And I can only imagine that he was like, "You want me to do what?"
At what time?
Why? Oh, yeah.
That would never fly today. Oh, funny. Okay. Well, I think that's it for me. Anything additional, Theo?
No. Well, I mean, always, sure. Let's talk about, but no. No, other than for those of you who celebrate, have a wonderful holiday. Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, for sure.
We will see you next week.
Yes, with a new episode that won't be Christmas because Christmas will be over. Boo.
Yeah. But we'll be back next year at Christmas time.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's always Christmas. There's always Christmas future.
Yes. Yay. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.